Hello, hello, and welcome. I'm Charlie from Urban Writers Retreat, and you are here with me to do a little mid-year review and a refresh of your goals. So, who am I? As I said, I run Urban Writers Retreat. So, I have been helping writers to do the thing that they love and hopefully enjoy the process since 2008. So I do that through writing retreats, both online and in person, in Devon, and online courses, structures, tools like this, planning workshops to, yeah, just to help empower writers basically and help you get to where you want to go. So let us talk about goals and about what we're going to do today. If you give me a sec while I share my screen. Right, excellent. Um, Now, if you did set goals at the start of the year, make sure that you have them to hand. Even if you've completely forgotten about them for the last few months, doesn't matter. Still bring them along. If you have anything like maybe a diary where you note what you've been writing, anything like that, that might be useful, or anything where you can easily see what you've been doing, just to refresh your memory, that would be great. Um, I think that's really all you need. You might need your diary for looking forward as well. That would be a good idea. So there is a PDF of the worksheet we'll be using here available online, which you can save and then fill in, or you can just write it. It's all fairly simple. Do it however works for you. If you have a physical or online writer's diary, as in one of my writer's diaries, then this is the actual process that is in there. The reason that I actually made the diary in the first place and that I set up this process is that I have a slight tendency to make great plans at the start of the year and then completely forget about them, get totally distracted by life and by all the other things that I'm supposed to be doing. And yeah, I didn't want that to happen anymore. So these prompts are hopefully going to help you with that. And I would really, really recommend doing what we do in the diary, which is come back every single month at the end of the month, and just review how it's gone. Ask yourself a couple of questions about what you want to tweak for next month. Um, so let's talk about how I like to approach goal setting, which is I like to think of it. It's so useful to set goals because otherwise you it's so easy for to just coast through life and then get to the end of another year and another year and another year and realize that you haven't really done anything that you wanted to and you've got all these big dreams but they are no nearer to happening. Um but your goal setting has to be kind of a living, ever-changing tool that actually works for you, not something that kind of sits in the corner at the back of your mind, judging you constantly. Like no one is going to give you medals for doing the things that you said that you wanted to at the start of the year exactly perfectly. And equally, no one is going to tell you off if you don't. Um, but the thing is that all of these things that we want to do, writing books, all the rest of it, they're hard and they might be emotionally difficult, they might be intellectually challenging, they might just be really time consuming. But there's you and this thing that you want to do in one corner ranged against all of the other difficulties, obligations, distractions, yeah, the chores, everything, the internet, and it's really and all of the lots of things kind of come in at higher and higher priority. So you always feel like you're firefighting. So it's very easy to let these things that feel more urgent or less confronting to do take precedence over the writing, which is what you want to be doing. So instead, the thing about setting goals and then coming back and reviewing them is saying to yourself, okay, I do have all of these other things, but this is important. Even if no one else ever sees this, even if it's just for me, it's important for me as a human being. It's something that I enjoy. It's something that makes my life meaningful. Um, it's fulfilling, it's energizing, it's interesting. And this is what I want to spend my time and my attention on, my energy, my focus and accepting that you have finite resources. So this is a tool that can help you to choose where and how to spend your time rather than letting the rest of the world pull your focus, pull your energy, pull your time away from you. Um, and yeah, so setting goals, and particularly if you are treating it as a living thing and constantly reviewing it, constantly asking questions, improving how you do things just with little tiny tweaks constantly, rather than trying to be perfect and then giving up, kind of really, really treating it as an ongoing process. It's a way of keeping you in the driver's seat of your own life, living a life that is closer to the one that you really want, and choosing for you instead of just being buffeted by the needs of the outside world and other people. Okay. So I'm going to help you to reflect on the last few months, make sure that you've got some goals and intentions, and just help you reset, rethink how things are going. Think about what you need to change to help you actually do the things you want to. So we'll look back at what you've done so far, look at goal setting, and then actually start to break down those goals, which will help you to understand what you need to be doing, how often you need to be doing it to actually make it happen. Um, so, with that in mind, let's get reflecting before we start planning. So, first of all, we are going to celebrate and acknowledge what you've done so far this year. So, list your achievements. What did you enjoy? What did you learn? What's gone well? What can you be proud of? What do you want to do more of? Like what really worked for you, either in terms of enjoyment or that really helped you? Um, and why do you think these things worked, or why did you love them? Um, this celebration step is really important. Praise is so much more effective at motivating people. And whether you are encouraging yourself or criticizing yourself is a habit. So whether you're a good boss or a bad boss to yourself is about how you talk to yourself. And it's something that you can change. You can deliberately get into the habit of supporting yourself, of being a good boss, just by catching what you're saying to yourself. So I really do want you to put the effort in to celebrate the efforts that you've made. And I put the word acknowledge on there as well, because no matter how many times I explain why celebrating progress is really important, people are quite resistant to it. And I find that often people say, well, I mean, yeah, I did something, but I should have done this. And it's all kind of, it's very backhanded. Um, and it's not helpful. You're still actually criticizing. You're saying, yes, but I wasn't really that great. Um, but that doesn't help you feel energized and enthusiastic about getting back to the work. So even if you've barely done anything, you can still acknowledge what you have done. And it might be about acknowledging that you've been held back by certain things, but you have still managed to do small things, take tiny steps in your writing, or even just that you haven't given up and that you are resetting now. That coming here today, that is something to acknowledge. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to write down, celebrate and acknowledge anything that you've done this year. But look back through your diary, start with the big stuff, but then keep going and try and get the smaller and smaller things, because those are important too. Those are still steps. So anything, getting back into journaling, realizing that you need help with something, reading a book that's given you great new ideas, anything can count. So just keep going when you run out of ideas. I'm going to give you 3 minutes and then we'll come back here. Okay. So the other side of being a good manager to yourself, it's not just praising yourself isn't enough. It's about helping you get the best from yourself. So that means that you need to actually assess in a try and do it in quite a clear-eyed way what has not gone so well for you. So maybe this is, is there anything you wanted to do that you didn't? What has frustrated or disappointed you? Where did you get stuck? What bad habits got in your way? How have you held yourself back? And that why in the middle is the really critical question. So acknowledge that you did completely lunch a project, or that big life stuff got in the way, or that you continue to make completely unrealistic goals for a time of year when you know that you have massive amounts of work on and you can't think about writing at all. Um, Even though it happens every year and every year you feel bad about it. It's about actually going, okay, I keep doing this. Is this helpful? So this isn't about blaming yourself. This is about gathering data, acknowledging what is going on and why, so that you can make better, more supportive, more effective, more realistic plans in the future, and not aim to write, put yourself in a position where you are trying to force yourself to write 15,000 words in a day, when normally your maximum is 1,500. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes, slightly less time for this, um, just to, yeah, do that assessment. What hasn't gone so well? And crucially, why? What is going on there that you can change? Okay, now let's look back at any goals you might have set at the start of the year and see how they feel now. If you did not set goals, then that's fine. You can just skip over this bit. But you may have kind of had subconscious goals. So you might have started the year not actively setting goals, but thinking, oh, I'm going to do this. So you can maybe journal for a few minutes on that. Just kind of how you expected the year to go versus how it has. So did you set annual goals? What were they, and how do you feel about them now? How did that first half of the year meet your expectations, both in terms of how it went, but also the actual projects themselves? Um, because really, we're looking to question, are the goals that you set at the start of the year ones that are still right for you? are they what you want to continue with into the second half of the year? For some of you, this will be a really easy yes, which is brilliant. And you'll be, yeah, I'm partway there, I'm steaming ahead. But, you know, some people will realize that there are other ideas and projects that they really kind of did want to do, but they didn't feel like they should at the start of the year. And maybe you want to bring those back into focus. So yeah, just take a couple of minutes to journal on this. And if there is anything else that's come up, again, look at why. Why is it appealing? Because this is a journaling question, I'll give you 2.5, maybe 3 minutes on this. Like I said, if this is irrelevant to you, you can skip to the next one. Okay. If you need to pause me and take more time at any point, by the way, go ahead and do that. Not a problem, particularly if you want to journal on anything. But let's look at tweaking your habits, making improvements to your writing routine. So this is where we're going to use the information from your what hasn't gone so well section, and think about what you can change, what small improvements you can make in your life or in your writing routine in the next, say, quarter that will help you to write or to make progress, or that you can test and see if it works for you. I want you to also look at what's coming up in your diary, and really ask, how can I give myself the kind of writing time that I'm going to need to do these goals that I've just looked at. Um, so it might be things like, oh, simple stuff like, I know I focus much better when I put on my headphones, so I'm going to start doing that. Or it might be practical things like, I'm going to revisit that conversation with my neighbor about taking both of our kids to school on alternate days, to free up some writing time. It might be, if you have identified, say, procrastination as a big issue, that has stopped you making progress, you might start asking, what is going on? Why are you stuck? Um, why can't or won't you move forward? And also start asking yourself for solutions. Start asking how. How can I do this? How can I get more time? How can I make it easier for myself? Because our brains are problem-solving machines. And this is, yeah, if you put it in there, do some journaling, leave it to do its thing. Hopefully you will start coming up with something that will, just little ways of changing things that are going to make a big difference. If you do have a big juicy problem, you may find yourself needing to come, pause, take a bit more time on this, come back to it at a later date. That is absolutely fine. But for now, let's just think about what improvements you can make. I'm going to give you maybe 2 minutes for this. Okay. So we're going to set your actual goals now. For some of you, this will just mean kind of reaffirming, recommitting to goals that you set at the start of the year. For some of you, it will mean actually making some goals or adding new ones in, discarding others. Um, and maybe when you do these, just something to have in mind is, how would you like your writing life to look at the end of this year? So think in terms of, who would you like to be as a writer? What would you like to be doing? Are there things that you would like to have? Do you want a new typewriter from the 1950s? Um, that counts as far as I'm concerned. It's writing related. What would you like to have completed or achieved? Think about what your long-term writing dreams are. And when you're thinking about setting a goal, when some people are going to have quite long lists of things that they want to do, and I'm going to encourage you to narrow it down to a maximum of three, because you have a finite amount of time, as we discussed earlier. And so I want you to think about your goals for the next 6 months. Are they going to move you closer to what your long-term dreams are? Um, and also, yeah, just think about, what will reaching the goals that you're thinking about setting for yourself, what will reaching them mean to you? Why do you want to do these things? So particularly if you're having trouble choosing between things, that all of this stuff can help you. So you're going to update and set your goals. I'm going to suggest, as I said, that you do a maximum of three. You don't have to set three, you can just set one, not a problem at all. But yeah, I do suggest, because people have limited bandwidth. If you know that your brain works well on having multiple projects on the go, by all means do that. Maybe consider having different projects at different stages if you can. So something that you're writing, something that you're editing, something you're researching. Perfect. Something that you can procrastinate on your main project with. You can cheat on it with another project, and that's still one of your goals. Brilliant. If you know that you are somebody who needs to be single-minded, who needs to really get absorbed in your work, just don't set three goals. You don't need to. Um, and this is the way that the format that I like to use, kind of a formula, I suppose. You do not have to use this. Do whatever works for you, but I will explain why I do it. Um, so I want, and here I put what the overarching goal is. So I want to write a thriller that is a that has bestseller potential, that can be turned into a movie that's gonna be world famous. Um, Now, actually, I would say that the only bit of that you can control is the thriller that you're going to write. But you're adding in the why here, and the thing that really motivates you is the idea of kind of doing something really incredible. So it's good to include that. Um, and what you want to do, this is your goal for the next 6 months, or this is kind of the next big step of the project. So I want to write this book, research it, edit it, whatever. But by December the 31st specifically, what is the goal or the stage that you're going to reach? So it might be in this scenario, I'm going to complete a scrappy first draft by December the 31st. And that is something that you have control over. It's not, I'm going to win a competition, because you have no control over whether you win. All you can influence is the effort that you put into making it the best it can be. Does that make sense? So something that you can have, that you can actually do, should be your goal, and something that is reasonable for you to do by December the 31st. So in this case, I'm going to say, by December 31st, I am going to complete my scrappy first draft. Maybe I've already got a plan, maybe I've done my research, whatever. To do that, I will do something and then do something. Or it might be, so this might be a milestone. To do this, I will write one chapter a week. The other thing that you can do that is really useful is break down kind of how you're going to do it a little bit. So to do this, I'm going to book myself in for a monthly online writing retreat, and commit to sending pages to my writing group every single month. And I'm going to write, I don't know, three chapters a month, so that I can hit that milestone by the end of December. So you're just breaking it down. And make it work for you. So if you like a big stretchy goal, make a big stretchy goal. If it is more motivating to you to have small goals that you will definitely outperform, and that you'll then be so delighted with yourself that you feel really motivated to continue, make tiny, tiny goals. There's no right answer to this. You are also allowed to do things like, you're allowed to set goals that are not kind of, I'm going to write this thing. You're allowed to set goals based on your creativity, based on reconnecting with your writing. Um, just, I'm going to write once a week for the longhand, for the pleasure of it. That's allowed to be a goal. This is your game. Do what's going to work for you. Um, don't just ignore what you think other people might think that you should do. Basically, that is my advice here. So I will give you 3 minutes, because you might potentially be coming up with three goals. As usual, you can just like skip me slightly forward if you need to, or pause if you want longer. Okay. Okay. I hope you've got some goals that feel good for you. If they don't, then maybe take a break, get a walk for a couple of minutes, clear your head, and then come back to it and ask yourself what it is that you really want. Look at them again. Um, and yeah, just try to come back to some goals that light you up, that you want to be doing. You don't have to be doing things that you think you should be doing or that someone else thinks you should be doing, unless you have a contract, in which case it's about it's about how to make it seem fun for you, I think. So yes, hopefully you do have goals that you love the idea of, though. So let us break them down. Now, this is really simple. Just break it down into milestones or chunks that make sense to you. We're just going to do the next quarter here. So the way I personally like to do it is I would kind of chop my goal in half, assuming, but you need to think about things like if you're going away for the whole of September, obviously, actually, you only have 5 months until the end of the year, not six, because you're not going to do anything in that time while you're away. So take into account big diary stuff. But broadly speaking, I would set a goal for each a target for each of my goals for the end of September and then work backwards and go, okay, well, so what do I need to have done by the end of August? What do I need to have done by the end of July? But you can do it the other way around. So you can go, okay, I think in July I can do this month. And then I think I can do this much in August. So do you see, you can approach it from either end. And if what you're coming up with is clearly nonsense and not going to work for your life, then it might mean just reassessing what your overall goal is. So yeah, just break it down into sensible month-long chunks. This, I'm going to give you 2 minutes or less for this because this should be reasonably quick. Okay. Hopefully, you have some broken down goals for the next couple of months. So now let's look at July and break it down into weeks. There are 4 weeks showing on screen here because essentially it fits more nicely to have 4 weeks on my screen than five. I actually haven't done this process for myself yet. I haven't even looked at how many weeks there are in July. Months don't always fit into weeks. Personally, I find it much easier to break things into weeks because then you know that you can have a steady point in your week. You can have a reminder set in your diary on a Sunday night to just sit down and spend 5 minutes thinking about how your week has gone. Um, so let's go with this. We're going to set you some weekly goals for July. Set as many as works for you. So you might actually think I only want to set one or two immediately and see how they, because I want to try something and see how it goes. You might want to set the whole month. You might want to set, I don't know, 6 weeks until you go on holiday, whatever it is. This is, again, it's a living document. So you need to be looking at it and asking yourself questions about it regularly. And so this is both where, and yeah, so part of the reason why you're going to keep asking yourself is that this is where you will put not just what I want to do in each week or where I want to get to, what I want to achieve, but also it can be really helpful to additionally think about what are the small actions and the steps that you're going to take to reach that smaller target, that weekly target. Um, so you're giving yourself more information about how you're actually going to get there. Because the most one of the most important things that you can do is to keep repeating the things that work. So if you say that you've got a, I don't know, a 20,000 word target for July, say you've got 5 weeks, you're going to write 5,000 words a week. Well, okay, that's great. Having a target is fantastic. But at this point, this is just a statement of hopeful intent, right? It's not, it doesn't give you any information about how you're actually going to get there. So, what actions do you need to take? What is the small repeatable step that you're going to do? How are you going to reach those 5,000 words? And what you want to be doing is making decisions now that will, oh, I'm sorry, my alarm's going off. You want to be making decisions now about when and how you're going to do things to the extent that you can, bearing in mind your life, so that you are much more likely to stick to them in the moment when your willpower is inevitably much lower. You're making decisions now for future you, who is going to be tired and hangry and overwhelmed, and you're going to make it so that you can make it easier for them. Okay. So if you know that the morning is the only time that you're going to get, then you're going to make a decision now. So for week one, I'm going to set my alarm clock an hour earlier. Do it now. I'm going to leave my notebook open. And then the moment that I've gone upstairs and made my coffee, downstairs, upstairs, my house is the wrong way around, then I'm going to sit at my desk and just write longhand 5 days a week as soon as I wake up. If that works, then your goal setting for every week beyond that, you might have a target and then you're going to have this information about how you do it. And that might not change, but it means that you can then switch it week by week if it's not quite working for you. Um, I'm not a morning person, so I probably wouldn't do this. But for me, an equivalent might be one thing that I love is just waking up and immediately pulling a physical notebook into the bed with me and just journaling. And journaling can then kind of lead to other stuff. So it's just about making like these decisions now, like I said, to give yourself an easier time, make it more likely to happen when you actually get to it. Some people might find they can actually set aside times already. That's really helpful. Again, put alarms in your phone. Don't put appointments in your diary. Don't leave the stuff to chance because you in the moment when you're kind of you're when all of the brain trash is going, oh, but you're a terrible writer, oh no no no, this is scary, will be telling you that you don't have time, that you can't do it for whatever reason. So try and make it as easy as possible by just setting things in stone now. Okay. So yeah, another 2 minutes, set up this month for yourself as well as you can. Okay. Hopefully, you have some kind of a working routine, some plans for the next month that are going to support your writing goals. Make sure that you sit down and do it. And I hope that you're really excited about what your plans are, about the projects that you're working on. And so I suppose really what I wanted to say before we leave is just that I think it's really easy to underestimate the tiny steps. So just sitting down and starting. It's really easy to think every writing session that you have, oh, well, I only wrote however many words, and to feel like your progress is very slow. But the small steps that you take consistently have huge, huge power. This is what actually gets you there. And obviously for some people, just doing a big session once a week is what works for them. But you need to make sure that you do it in that case, and that still counts as your smallest step. And maybe in that case, you would be doing additional little things in the meantime just to help you keep your head in your book, because it's this, yeah, focus on the process and on the tiny steps that you're taking regularly. Um, rather than judging how it's gone each time, because it will, if you meet your writing project regularly, consistently, I think actually more important than being consistent is being persistent. So keeping coming back to it, no matter what happens. You will be amazed. One day it will suddenly really start to add up fast. And what you do on a daily basis will feel very small, but what you can achieve in 6 months can be astonishing. So, I hope that is your experience. I hope you have a really great second half of the year. Come and share your goals and your wins with me. I'm sorry that this wasn't live. I just wasn't able to do it live this time, but I am on Instagram as Urban Writers Retreat. I will try and put a post up about this. Reply to my post rather than tagging me, because I don't know, tagging me doesn't seem to always work. I don't know why, never been able to work it out. Or you can email me, hello@urbanwritersretreat.co.uk, because I love hearing from people, hearing what you're all up to. So yeah, have fun. And I will be doing hopefully another goal setting session at the turn of the year. So I hope that maybe you will join me there. And in the meantime, yeah, happy writing.